The silence of this moment is not empty. It's a carefully constructed stage, a borrowed breath before a truth you were never intended to discover. Imagine, if you can, whispers from epochs long buried, encoded messages not for a coming future, but for an unfolding present. This isn't about predicting what's next. It's about recognizing what's already here, woven into the very fabric of the stories we've been told. Ancient texts, particularly those silenced within the grand narratives of religion, hold keys. The Gnostics, in their daring explorations, spoke of a flawed creator, a demiurge, who fashioned a world, a grand illusion. We've been taught to search for salvation, but what if the very path laid out is a system designed to harvest something precious from us? This video will begin to peel back those layers, to re-examine biblical prophecies, the ancient fear of serpents, and the abyss, and how the deity known as Yahweh may have transformed into something far more custodial, a cosmic warden. The revelation is profound. You might already be living within the spiritual event you've been taught to await. The weight of this understanding is heavy, but with it comes a sliver of hope. For once you see the bars of the cage, the possibility of escape, of breaking the cycle that binds us, begins to emerge. We are not merely observers of a grand cosmic play. We are participants, and the script has been subtly altered. This is your invitation to awaken to a hidden history, a past that dictates your present. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Now let's keep going. The serpent, ancient and primal, coils through our deepest fears and most sacred myths. In Genesis, it tempts Eve, an act often interpreted as the introduction of sin and the fall from grace. But what if this serpent is not merely a tempter, but a messenger, an unwelcome herald of a different order? The Gnostic texts offer a radical reinterpretation, suggesting that the serpent's message was one of enlightenment, a call to awaken from a manufactured ignorance. This veiled knowledge was suppressed, deemed heretical, yet the symbolism persists. The serpent shedding its skin, a metaphor for rebirth and transformation, or perhaps for shedding the layers of illusion. The abyss, that primal void, is often depicted as a place of chaos, but also as the womb of creation. What if these ancient images aren't warnings to flee, but invitations to descend into a deeper, truer reality? Consider the serpent's dual nature, life-giving and venomous. Is this duality a reflection of a creator who instilled within us the potential for both liberation and enslavement? We are taught to fear that which slithers in the dark, but what if the true darkness lies not in the abyss, but in the light that blinds us to its entrance? The serpent's whisper, so often demonized, might be the very key to understanding the soul harvest system we find ourselves within. The abyss beckons, not as an end, but as a potential beginning, if we can decipher its true purpose. But who is the architect of this veiled reality, and why employ such ancient symbols to conceal it? The biblical narrative, particularly the later books, speaks of a final judgment, an apocalyptic unfolding. Revelation, with its beasts, its seals, and its trumpets, paints a vivid picture of cosmic upheaval. But what if this cataclysm is not a forewarning of a future event, but a description of a process that has been ongoing, a spiritual event unfolding not in the distant future, but in every moment of our existence? The figure of Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament, undergoes a profound transformation throughout Scripture. From a tribal deity to a universal lawgiver, the portrayal shifts. Some of the earliest interpretations saw this deity as a powerful, yet flawed, archon, a ruler within the cosmic hierarchy, one who sought control. This contrasts sharply with the benevolent, all-loving God presented in later theological developments. Could this shift be representative of a deliberate rebranding, a subtle alteration of perception? The concept of divine judgment, of souls being weighed and meted out their eternal fate, begins to take on a different character when viewed as a mechanism for control. What if salvation, as preached, is not an act of grace, but the sealing of a contract, an agreement to abide by the rules of the system? The Book of Revelation details a cosmic, jailer, a force that binds and punishes, but also promises a final reward for obedience. This duality is where the trap lies hidden. We are conditioned to anticipate a grand finale, a day of reckoning. But the true spectacle might be the ongoing surveillance and the perpetual recalibration of souls within a system designed to keep them bound. The promise of escape, of a heavenly reward, could be the ultimate bait, ensuring continued participation in this eternal loop. How are these souls harvested, and what is the ultimate purpose of this cosmic operation? The serpent's symbolism, the prophecy's dual nature, and the evolving image of Yahweh all point towards a sophisticated system of control. But the heart of this system, the ultimate mechanism of our entrapment, is deeply rooted in the very concept of divinity and salvation that we hold sacred. What appears as divine protection and ultimate liberation can, upon closer inspection, reveal itself to be a carefully constructed prison. Consider the ancient idea of the prison cosmos, a belief that our perceived reality is merely a lower, corrupted version of a higher, true existence. The Gnostics described the demiurge and his creations as fundamentally flawed, trapping divine sparks within material bodies. This is not a metaphor for spiritual laziness, but a literal description of souls being held captive. The light at the end of the tunnel, the promised afterlife, can be reinterpreted not as a gateway to freedom, but as another level of control, a sophisticated frequency designed to lull the soul back into compliance. This artificial frequency, this illusory salvation, prevents us from realizing our true potential, our innate divinity. It offers a comfortable lie, a promised paradise that prevents us from seeking the truth of our origin and the means of our liberation. We are, in essence, being offered a gilded cage, a spiritual pacifier that distracts us from the real work of breaking free. Salvation becomes the ultimate form of spiritual anesthesia, ensuring that the dormant soul remains undisturbed. This perpetual cycle, the reincarnation trap, is sustained by this manufactured hope of an afterlife, a promise that ensures our return. The trap is not in the penalty, but in the bait. But what is the true origin of this system, this cosmic deception that has woven itself into the very fabric of our spiritual aspirations? The architects of this veiled reality, the powers that established this soul harvest system, have left their mark not just in cryptic texts, but in the very geometry of our spiritual understanding. They've built a cosmic architecture, a framework designed to contain and redirect our consciousness. You've felt the hum of its presence, the subtle influence that guides our beliefs and aspirations. This influence is not random. It is deliberate, structured, and deeply embedded in the symbols and narratives we accept as truth. We've explored the serpent, the abyss, the evolving nature of deities, and the illusion of salvation. Each element serves a purpose, a piece of a larger puzzle, but the ultimate architect, the source of this intricate design, points to a singular, ancient influence. This influence is often symbolized by Saturn, the black cube, and the hexagonal storms that rage on its poles. These are not mere astronomical curiosities. They are potent archetypes, keys to understanding the forces that govern our spiritual experience. The hexagon, a symbol of divine order and perfection in many ancient cultures, takes on a sinister connotation when associated with these Saturnian symbols. It becomes a geometric lock, a diagram of control that dictates the cycles of existence. Understanding these symbols is not about dabbling in occultism. It is about recognizing the very blueprint of our prisons. The patterns are undeniable, woven into our religious canons, our mythology, and even our subconscious fears. These are the fundamental building blocks of the illusion. But how did this pattern, this extraterrestrial influence, become so deeply ingrained in human spiritual thought?